Hello and welcome to This is Nigeria, Unlocking Our Potentials. My name is Mayowa Oluwabiyi. The objective of this program is to showcase the development potentials of Nigeria. But we decided to take a look today, take an assessment of what really went wrong in the system. Why are we not where we're supposed to be? According to the United Nations, over 70% of Nigerians live below the poverty line. Now that is very saddening. But then we choose to see our cup as half full rather than half empty. So in this edition of the program, we're going to take a look in the special highlight on Nigeria. And we also have a panel of discussants, very erudite speakers, to take a forensic look at the issues at stake and to also profile the way forward. And lastly but not the least, we also went on the streets and spoke to Nigerians candidly about Nigeria's dependence on oil, and it might interest you, the things they have to say. So don't worry, fasten your seatbelts. We'll be back.
Archaeological evidence has it that the borders of modern Nigeria were not created until 1914, when the Protectorate of Northern Nigeria and the colony and the Protectorate of Southern Nigeria were merged by Sir Frederick Lugard. Subsequently, on October 1, 1960, Nigeria gained her independence from Great Britain. Nigeria is located in West Africa in the Gulf of Guinea, bordered by the Republic of Cameroon to the east, the Niger Republic to the north, Benin Republic to the west, and the southern boundary is formed by an 800-kilometer Atlantic coastline, which includes the eastern sector of the Gulf of Guinea. The surface area of Nigeria is approximately 924,000 square kilometers. The terrain of Nigeria varies, with lowlands in the south, mountains in the southeast, hills in the middle belt, with plateaus and plains in the north. Nigeria has over 250 ethnic groups, with the largest being the Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba ethnic groups. These groups had separate and independent histories, producing large quantities of agricultural products for local consumption and export. At a time, Nigeria was the world's largest exporter of groundnut, cocoa, palm oil, and a significant producer of coconut, citrus fruits, cereals, amongst others. Before independence in 1960, groundnut pyramids were synonymous with the agricultural revolution in the north. In the southwest, cocoa production was a huge revenue earner and created mass employment. The manufacturing industry, which was basically in the northern part of the country, took part in leather and textile production, which was very vibrant at that time and had the potential to build a prosperous economy. At this point, Nigeria was seen as an emerging economy with its thriving industries. However, with the discovery of oil in the 1960s, agriculture began to suffer neglect, mismanagement, lack of infrastructure, and inconsistent and poorly conceived government policies. Nigeria, which had been a net exporter of agricultural products, now had to import the same products. Soon, agriculture, which hitherto was a foreign exchange earner, became a foreign exchange consumer.
We thank you all. There are three categories of farmers here: the smallholders, less than a hectare or sometimes 1 hectare. We have the medium, but we're looking for the large-scale investors. And we think you can fit into either the medium or the large scale. We have land, we have water. We're creating more dams and lakes and dikes because we have heavy rainfall here. And most of this rain that falls finds its way into the Atlantic Ocean. We think the ocean doesn't need water, we do, for irrigation to enable us to do 2 or 3 crops per annum. Challenges here: access to capital. Interest rates are on the high side, but we are reforming the Bank of Agriculture to make interest rates more friendly towards agriculture. That process is going on. The acting president just last week asked me to make a request for us to clear more land, because land clearing in the south-south, the southwest and the southeast, and parts of the lower north central zone can be very expensive. And that's a once-for-all investment that government will make to support farmers so they can access land. And then we bring in tractors, machines of all kinds to improve production and reduce the cost and the drudgery of agricultural production. Soil and fertilizer production is a major thing we're doing now. We've reduced the price of fertilizer through government support and subsidies. And we are moving the 3 universities of agriculture under the Ministry of Agriculture to make them concentrate more seriously on agricultural production and agricultural education for the younger generation of Nigerians. And finally, we are aware that before now, the farmer was looked upon as someone from the territory of the forsaken and the nameless. Today, farmers in Nigeria are becoming very powerful. So powerful that last month, a governor invited party members to a meeting at the headquarters in his state. He got a message. Your Excellency, we're too busy harvesting crops now. Give us 3 weeks. When we finish, we shall respond to your call. Don't be too late. Come and join us. Thank you very much indeed.
Since the oil boom, Nigeria's economic resource has been dependent on it to the detriment of agricultural production, making Nigeria a one-product economy. The discovery of oil, therefore, did not only come with its economic boom, but with its basket of disadvantages would have succeeded in underdeveloping the country. Aside agriculture, mining is also one of the oldest economic activities in Nigeria, with evidence of ironwork civilization around the Nok area in present-day Kaduna State dating back to 340 BC. Bronze work civilization around Igboukwu in 704 AD. Enugu in eastern Nigeria was the hub of coal mining that started around 1916. At a point, Nigeria was also a leading exporter of tin. The 36 states of the Federation and the FCT are blessed with an abundant array of unexploited mineral resources, with evidence of a reserve of 34 solid minerals in commercial quantities. These include tin, gold, coal, zinc, tantalite, bitumen, and several others. Despite the huge deposit of these resources, the mining industry in Nigeria is still at its infancy, except for illegal mining activities which are not accounted for.
We're really on the road to a shared mining prosperity. We have almost every critical stakeholder that you can think of here. We have our state representatives here. We have the organized private sector here. We have the mining operators. We have the researchers. We have almost every critical player here. And they've demonstrated in no uncertain terms that they are absolutely committed to a collaborative partnership that will grow the industry. And the steps that have been taken, both in our roadmap and in the implementation of that roadmap, already demonstrate that partnership, which is the bedrock if this sector is going to grow. Results have started showing. I mean, we just launched a 5 billion naira revolving loan fund for artisanal and small-scale miners. We have just also put in place processes for geological exploration. We are working with states on improving the relationships, particularly with regards to consent. We are also working on investment promotion, on export trade, on ensuring that we capture every revenue that belongs to this sector, so that every critical stakeholder would have a sense of ownership in what is being done.
Mining, therefore, offers Nigeria great potential for job creation, and if properly tapped, can turn Nigeria's economy around for the better. Another huge potential is the tourism sector, which has become a large revenue earner for smaller African countries that have tapped into it. Most promises made to project the sector in Nigeria have been mere lip service, with little or no commitment from relevant authorities. With well over 250 ethnic groups, the tourism potentials of Nigeria, if properly packaged and projected, can be a world beater. Having looked at what Nigeria is blessed with, the journey so far and the mistakes made, The country can only move forward and be one of the leading economies in the world if these sectors are taken seriously.
Our economy is in dire need of diversification. Yes. And when you see what the government has proposed, for their budget, the first way looking at is diversification. How do we diversify this economy away from oil? Indeed, President Buhari had said when he met with the Manufacturers Association sometime last year, he said, look, we know there are problems out there, but we just have to start behaving as if we don't have oil. And that's the only way forward. Okay. We, the NEPC, what we are presenting to this government on that is what I call my zero oil plan. Okay. It's a plan based on certain export sectors and how Nigeria can harness and be part of that market. We considered markets that are over $20 billion. Anything short of that, we're not interested in the zero oil plan. Of course, other things will be going. But when we look at it, we look at those sectors and we look at the ones that Nigeria has potential and comparative advantage to be part of. Solid minerals is key. Gold, for example, it's a $400 billion market. Annually, these are annual figures, not forever figures. Annually.
And how much is Nigeria raking out of that?
We're not raking anything.
Wow.
That's why we have this plan to target. Even we have a 5% rule for many of these products. Petrochemicals, it's $150 billion market.
You're kidding?
Yes, yearly. But Nigeria is still importing. So we need to scale up production in many of these things. Petrochemicals is one that is of really great shame because we're a petrol economy. Many of the byproducts of that, plastic is one. Plastic goes into our automotive policy.
Develop these sectors without neglecting any, and Nigeria can raise her head as the giant of Africa.
You will agree with me that Nigeria is destined for greatness. Up next is our panel of discussants to take a forensic look at the issues at stake. So don't go away, we'll be back. Today we're looking at how blessed Nigeria is as a country. We have investment, development potentials that are largely not harnessed in the last 57 years. Now to take stock with me, to deliberate on the issue at stake is Oscar Ogundiwe, a lawyer, a public affairs analyst, the national coordinator for the movement of restoration of values. Very timely. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
And also seated next to him is Jibril Baba Ndache, a public affairs analyst. Jibril, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. And thank you. Yes.
Now let us take a historical perspective. Where have we gone wrong? Nigeria is so blessed. There's so much abundance of everything, yet there is poverty in the midst of it. Oscar.
I would like to say since the year of our Lord 1976, I think that is when we started to really. Before we had values, a little bit of values within the civil service. When Murtala Mohammed took power, and pump sacks who never knew they could easily be thrown out were thrown out of office. That was the first time instability crept into the Nigerian civil service. And from that time, things changed. The thinking in the civil service changed. The thinking now became, I could leave here anytime, but before I leave, I'd better be sure I am taken care of. So that's what devastated that one. And then again we started running a unitary system of government, and which means the center was that big, the center must control everything, and even by the time we started having constituent assemblies to now say, look, what we want to do, since after the Civil War, of 1966 to 1967 to 1970, we now went into a unitary government. By 1979, we adopted what? The presidential system of government. Even at that, it was already getting bad, but it wasn't that bad. By 1979, we still had, some ideas or some feelings, some nostalgia about how it used to be. And then we continued, of course, the army truncated that one again by 83. We went right back again. Then we developed a mentality called with immediate effect. Now, with immediate effect mentality means nobody cares about process. Get it now, get it done, and that's the way it goes. And gradually, we started forgetting our values, and gradually so many things started going on, and where we are today, in the midst of plenty, and we're poor. The current constitution that we're operating, it ties the hands of everybody. It gave 52% of our national wealth to the center, which means rather than behave like federating units, you get what you get from your state and contribute to the center. No, the center takes everything and then they can give now to the states. And that is absolute power. And we all know, before we were all born, there was that cliche, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely.
So, Jibril, where do we go from here?
What we should do is that rather than talking about resource control, we should talk about resource investment.
Okay.
Because today there's no state in Nigeria that is producing anything, including the Niger Delta. The resources that we're talking about even in the Niger Delta happen to be there. If you take, for instance, the other states in the country, Zamfara, Niger, Nasarawa, they have resources. If you just go there and just take the resources, it's not enough. There are countries that just depend on their human capital. Today, you have geopolitical zone. Geopolitical zone, there you just remember geopolitical zone when there is offices to be shared. Why don't we have, going forward, geopolitical zone of talents? Every part of this country can bring something to the table in terms of sport. Countries like Japan, they don't have oil. Yes. They are depending on human capital.
They have nothing.
I haven't taken that. Let's come to tourism, for instance. Kenya, Indonesia, and several countries of the world depend on tourism. What are we doing with our own here? In the past, efforts were made in building game reserve around the country, in identifying areas with certain potentials in tourism. So these are the issues that I think that we should do, and above all, we should have political will. There's too much politics about everything in this country. If you have somebody who is qualified to do something, you should be given the opportunity to do it.
Oscar, somebody said that Nigeria was not designed to produce, but that Nigeria was designed to consume. Are we a consuming nation? What's your take on that?
No, and there's no such country in the world, because every human being that God created can do something, because inside of you there is something. Our future is in our past, because in the past we were producing.
Okay.
In the past, there was the granite pyramid in the north. There was cotton that we were exporting from. There was iron ore we were exporting from this country. Cocoa was living here. And because cocoa was happening here, that's why Cadbury came. Cadbury International came here to say, look, we can take this thing from here and at least make the beverages or the chocolates or whatever, and then still export the final product. And we still have all these resources in this country. And we just suddenly became lazy. And we all suddenly became government dependent. For education, the days we used to revere teachers, that's when students were doing well. Oh, these teachers were great people. You respected teachers like nobody else. Today, who do we revere? That man is carry. Man is loaded. How did he make it? It doesn't matter, Joe. And that's what happens. Then you destroy the values.
Listening to both of you, I agree that we have to look into the past to find a solution to the future. Now, precisely where do we start from? There is security problem, there is power problem, there is the dependence on oil. Just take it bit by bit. Jibril.
Once you have good governance, once government don't continue to leave people's issues in the boot, once you don't sweep the issue of justice, fairness and equity under the carpet, once they are addressed squarely at every point, and which is a good governance, you have a problem.
Oscar.
We're still evolving, and something new is happening. It's called zonal integration. If you notice, the Niger Delta people now come together. They have the Braced Commission, them coming together. The Southeast is doing that. The Southwest has been doing that for the past 40-something years. Then maybe we'll now have the Northwest. Then we have the Northeast. Then we have the North Central. All for this. Then, when that stays, what I would love to see will be zonal competition, healthy competition. Let's become sportsmen, because that was what happened in those days. When Nnamdi Azikiwe decided to start a university in Nsukka, Awolowo replied in Ife. Modibole said, I will not be left out. He replied in Zaria. Then what happened? Awolowo says, okay, he starts up a television, WNTV. ENTV got up. The Northern Television got up. This is the competition. So anybody who shows any brilliance, another person says, no, I will match it. And you go ahead. And before you know it, that is the kind of competition that will make us grow.
Thank you, Oscar Oundui.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And Jibril Ndache.
Thank you very much.
This is Nigeria Will Continue.
Depending on oil, right from the origin, is what they call a mono economy. And there is no any economy that can survive based on mono economy system. Nigeria is naturally endowed with resources. Many are lying there then undiscovered. If we do as if there is no oil, then we'll be able to go back to other sectors and develop it.
There is a need for Nigeria to look inward and think of developing other sectors that will increase the income earning of the country and increase the GDP and even the savings of the country by developing other mineral areas and not depending too much on oil.
I think Nigeria should, try and be more productive and try and venture into some potentials that they've not really harnessed.
God has given this country everything that we need to survive. We have agriculture, vital land, we have mineral resources apart from oil, we have gold, we have oil, we have bitumen, we have so many things. If we diversify to all these areas and we invest adequately, definitely we get to the promised land.
For Nigeria's economy to diversify, grow stronger and faster, to survive the global economic recession, and the economy to function effectively, in line with the change mantra of the present regime, there are those who are working round the clock to make it so. This is Nigeria, Unlocking Her Potentials, a program on the service of the NTA International that explores the non-oil sectors of the economy, the evolution, the progression, and the abundance.
Our economy is in dire need of diversification.
Diversification and more diversification.
There is no way you diversify exports without talking about production.
This is Nigeria, whose Maiwa Uluwabi goes beyond the economic journey of Nigeria, delivering complete economic dividends to Nigeria. This is Nigeria, unlocking her potential, showing on NTA International.
Well, this is where we draw the curtains today. My name is Maiwa Uluwabi. Now, it's been a wonderful time on This is Nigeria, unlocking her potentials. Join me as we unlock Nigeria's huge potentials in agriculture, in aviation, in the solid minerals sector. The list was unlimited. The summary is that Nigeria is truly blessed, hugely endowed, and we have no business with poverty. But then we choose to see our cup as half full rather than half empty. Until next week when I come your way again, thank you for watching and God bless Nigeria.